Hey guys, Let Me Freeman here again, and today we're playing some more Hearthstone for Kaiserreich mod, or this is more of like an informational video, I guess. So I want to make this video here on like the 10-0 and tanks playstyle, as opposed to like what some people would do is they just like spam 7-2 divisions or whatnot. Uh, I guess the difference is, right, like you're not making a standard unit when you're playing 10-0 and tanks, you're making 10-0s to hold the line, and you're building tank units to make breakthroughs and encirclements and that sort of thing. And I know some people have said they have like problems figuring out like how to manage their production and whatnot to actually get these tank units out at like a time that's relevant. So I thought I'd make a video and talk a little bit about how to like set yourself up. So if you want to play, and like this isn't just for like I'm playing Ukraine here, but you could play it as like pretty much any kind of regional or minor country. And you can still kind of do the play style, although it is different if you're a minor and you're doing a supporting role versus if you're a regional and you're trying to like carry. There are a few differences in like the practical situation on the ground. So to start off, in order to actually play like 10-0 in tanks, you need to have the tanks, and you need to have like pretty good tanks. Like the AI will build anti-tank eventually, but the AI will not catch up to like ahead of time tanks. So for this run, we opted for the heavy tank. You can also do mediums as well. So, and the way you would usually want to pick that is like you would look at, first of all, what resources you have access to. And as Ukraine, we have more chromium than we do tungsten. And you have to kind of weigh how much chromium you're going to have to import versus how much you have already, versus the same for tungsten. So heavy tanks require 3 chromium per factory, and tungsten is only 2. I believe that's right. That's correct. The medium tanks take 2 tungsten that you have to import. Heavy tanks take 3. But that is something to consider, of course, especially if you're a minor or regional, you're not a major. You don't want to be trading away factories that you don't have to get resources to build your tanks. The other thing you want to consider is how many research bonuses you have. So like I said, you want to be ahead of time with your tanks if possible. So when like the Well Creek starts, like this is like a little bit after the start date. This is when Russia's declared war. I previously had my tank unit like over here helping out, and on the front line over here I was trying to push into, like I was trying to go for this encirclement over here, but we didn't quite get that in time for before Russia joined, and I pulled my tank back over here to go deal with that. I think it's it's on the way over. It's on the way over. So let's delete that order. It's gonna be relevant now. So you want to be ahead of time when the Well Creek starts. Like you want to be at least making some 1941 medium tanks or 1940 heavy tanks. And that means, so first of all, also when you're picking whether or not you want heavy tank or medium tank, you got to look at what researches you'll need. So if you start with light tank 1, then it's like you need 1 tech here, 1 tech here. If you don't start with any tank research, then you have to do 2 additional researches before you can get to medium, whereas heavy is just 1. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing is, if you have research bonuses in your focus tree, which is what you're going to look for to try and get these things ahead of time, you need 2 to get to 1941. Medium tank, you only need 1 to get to 1941 heavy tank. Ukraine has, I believe their focus, so they get, listen over here, tanks this deep, you get 2 100% bonuses. So like you could do either or. And if you go heavy, you still have the extra bonus in the bank to get the next level of tank. So that's something else you want to consider. The medium tank unit, you will get to start building 1939 medium tanks, usually somewhere around like mid-1937, and then you'll switch over to the 1941 medium tank once that comes online. So it's easier to get the division in the field for 1939, whereas if you go heavies, unless you were building heavy ones to throw in your unit, which is I don't know, maybe that's a little bit risky for a few reasons we'll talk about later, especially for a minor or regional. Or you're going to do a dispersed industry conversion strategy to do like an SPG unit, then your heavy tank unit is probably going to be delayed and you'll get it in the field kind of like really late 1939, early 1940. So you have to hold on until then you'll get your first heavy tank unit, and your second one is going to build much faster after that because you'll have production efficiency. But medium tanks you'll have in the field like a little bit earlier because you can build like the 1939 mediums, and you'll get the 1941 as well in there. And you'll have like a mixed tech unit, but it'll be good enough for the start of the Well Creek. Like I was also saying, the AI will also build like anti-tank, support anti-tank. and that can wind up piercing, like if they're on the same tier as you, they will wind up piercing your tanks if they have that a lot of the time. So you don't want to have your tanks pierced. That makes it a lot harder to push. So if you have the armor bonus, you're going to do an additional about 40% organizational damage, which makes it easier to break the enemy, and you're also going to take less damage, which is good for your equipment losses. It's also good for being able to keep pushing because you're not going to be taking organizational hits. So armor bonus is critical, and that's one of the main reasons you want to play with tanks in the first place. So you want to make sure you're going to be able to have the armor bonus for as long as possible. So 1941 tier is what you're aiming for when you're going for this playstyle. And those are kind of the considerations that you would make when you decide whether you want to go heavy or medium. And when you're doing researches, like usually at January 1st, 1936, you're immediately at the start of the game, you're hitting tanks, you're researching tanks, and you're going to stay on that for until you get your bonus over here. And you might even want to rush this next one over here too if you want to, if you have a bonus for it. One thing to remember too, though, is if you are going to go for a variant, so you see I have the A over here, but I had a 2x 100% bonus. What you want to do is just click this and let it start researching for like a day, and then swap that onto this. That way that will lock in this 100% bonus onto this higher tier tank and not waste it on this AA2 research, which isn't going to take that long anyways. It's like 100 something days, even though it's like ahead of time. So that's like the research strategy for tanks. You're gonna research this, you're gonna research this, and you want to make sure you have a bonus available as fast as possible. And you want to time it out so that maybe if you can time it out, you want to do it so that your bonus is available as soon as you're ready to take it for the ahead of time. So like if you're going down the light tank path, you would want your bonus to become available kind of like around the same time this is done researching. The game, of course, starts in 1936, so you can use that bonus for right away to get the 1939 medium tank, and then your next bonus for the 1941 medium tank. If not, you want to keep on researching this, and if you're a little bit late, what you can do is once one of your techs finishes researching after you have the research bonus, then you'll switch the line that's researching your tank onto something else, and then swap that tank onto the empty research slot after it's banked 30 days, and then your bonus you can apply after that switch to that model. It's not the best use of the bonus, but it will still get your tanks out faster, and we had to do that in this game. So we started researching the 1941 heavy tank, and then once we got the bonus, we did that research juggle there and slammed the 100% bonus onto this, even though it was already partially completed. So that's what you're looking for researches, and because like when Ukraine starts with the medium this tank only researched, and we researched this right out the gate. You want to make sure you're getting that research bonus fast, right? So like as soon as you're able to come and do this. So once our tree unlocked is Ukraine, we got this. We did dissolve the Rada, that unlocked this tree, and then we got this. We got this, and then we got this right away. That was like even before Black Monday we do that, and that way you're gonna have your tank out researched in time for you to produce it, so you have it for the Weltkrieg. That's important, guys. So in Hearts of Iron 4, for production, it's very like production efficiency is like extremely important. It's going to take a long time for you to get these tanks ready for the field, right? It's a lot of industrial capacity for cost for a tank unit. So you can't just kind of research it and you're like, oh, it's 1939 now, let's start building tanks and expect to have them for the points that are relevant in the game. It's not going to work out for you. You have to prioritize it, and you want to start building as soon as possible. So that national focus strategy kind of ties into your research strategy as well. Like you need to hit these rushes, and that's why it's important when you're looking at a country, if you want to play with tanks or whether or not it's a good country for tanks, whether or not they have one of these bonuses that you can get early is very critical when evaluating that tree. If you don't, you can just hard rush, like right January 1936, just hard rush this technology over here. And if you started with Heavy Tank 1 already, then you can kind of, it'll be later, but you can still kind of do it. You'll just have to hold on for longer before your tanks come online. But you do have to research that right away, and your slot, you're just going to have to eat that hit. You're going to have to pay the 1,200 something days of research to get it. And that should finish sometime up in 39. You can start working on your tank unit in 1939. Of course, like even like 100 days of production, that's like 150 days of production that you get from like having this research at the start. Helps a lot. That's going to be a number of tanks in the field that you wouldn't have otherwise. So like that's an important concept to have. And then also, kind of sticking with that same sort of theme, you also kind of want to prioritize getting your tank manufacturer. For sure, you want to make sure you have it before your tank finishes researching. That way, you get the actual bonus from the tank manufacturer. And this one is like a pretty good one, gives you soft tech and reliability. But if you have the political power to afford this, and Ukraine's not allowed to take any focuses until certain events happen, so you'll be banking political power anyways. Then you want to, if you can afford it, you want to get this early, and that's going to give you the research bonus. You can get your tank out faster. The faster it's out, the more time you have building production efficiency, the more tanks you're going to have. So that's important to keep in mind. Otherwise, like the usual economy laws and other stuff is important, but you do want to prioritize a little bit. This like this would be like more important than like an industrial company if you're trying to do a tank strategy, and like you're not like a major. Right, like if you're a major, then the dynamics change because if you have more factories, you can build more tanks and so on and so forth. You can afford it to be a little bit later. And then in terms of the actual production, so production for tanks, like you can take a look at this over here, and that kind of tells a story about like how much you have to like really invest into tanks to like get them out in the field. So right now it's like 1940, and we've got like our first this is like a fully equipped 40 width medium tank division that we have in the field. We only have one of them right now, but we'll be working towards the next one. You need 440 for that template, and we'll be getting that sooner rather than later. We're making 2.5 per day right now. We're not even at full production efficiency, and kind of like once you get 2, that's when you can really start bullying the AI and making encirclements and stuff. So how do you start with your production, right? So our starting factories, we had, I think, 4 on gun, 1 on motorized, and 1 on support equipment from day 1. And you don't want to touch those factories. And that's going to build up the infantry equipment and stuff that you're going to need to keep your troops supplied and in the field. Like, you don't want to split that production up too much. And like you've noticed here, we also skipped artillery. So like our infantry template is, 10 guys and they have a shovel. That's it. And all they're going to be doing is like holding the line. Like it's okay if they get pushed back a little bit. If the enemy pushes us, you can counterattack with your tanks. You can make encirclements. Like it's not as important that you hold ground with a 10-0 and tank strategy as it is with like a spam 7-2 strategy, like a brain dead strategy like that. Because tanks have such high push potential that you can just like if you lose ground, you can take it back later after you make an encirclement, and it's not that big of a deal. If you're only playing with an infantry army, then infantry has very bad breakthrough. They don't have an armor bonus, and it's very costly to retake ground after you lose it if you're only playing with infantry. It's like that's a pretty big playstyle difference that you have to kind of like get in your head. If the enemy starts pushing you, as long as you're still killing their divisions for your tanks and you're not losing like key industrial land or anything, it's like usually not that big of a deal. Of course, getting pushed off something like a mountain range or something is annoying because you have to take attrition to take it back, if you even need it at all. But for production, so your starting factories, you want your basics. Like our starting factories, we had 4 on guns, 1 on motorized, and 1 on support equipment. So if you have 1 motorized, this is only 1 factory in motorized, that'll give you enough trucks to have a few tank divisions, and you don't have to put anything allocated on it as long as you're building it from day 1. You start with I don't think we started with the motorized line, but if you build efficiency from January 1, 1936, you're going to have 100% production efficiency pretty fast. And as you can see here, we have 1.2k trucks in reserve, and we need only 420. So you get like another couple tanks, and not including the trucks they're already making. From just having that 1 factory on from day one. And tank units, because they're so hard and they've got the armor bonus, tend to take proportionally fewer losses, like much less losses than you would have if you're trying to field like a motorized infantry unit attacking with it. So you can kind of get away with that. You don't need very many. You do not need very many factories on trucks as long as you put you set yourself up at the start and get yourself your factory. 1 or 2 factories, maybe 3 factories tops if you think you're going to need like a lot of motorized for you're making a lot. Like if you're a really big country and you're going to be making a lot of tank divisions, maybe you want 3 factories. But for me, like usually I find 2 factories in motorized if you get them on January 1st, 1936 is like probably going to give you enough motorized to last you for pretty much the whole game for like all the important parts. And then support equipment, if you want to have engineers in your tank division, you're going to probably want some engineers. You probably want recon. You might also want signals. Like, you're going to need support equipment. Support equipment can also be used for shovels in your infantry unit. So support equipment is going to be more important than artillery, in my opinion. And if you only have a few factories to like play around with, then I would pick one factory on support equipment versus one factory in artillery. And then you have 4 factories on guns, and then you have that 100% production efficiency from day one. So you're gonna stockpile a lot of guns. So we have like 13.5k guns right now. Like, we're in the green, and we're training a few units to get in the field. So that's kind of how you set up your production. And then once you're starting to build military factories, when your tank is researched, then you're going to want to be throwing all your factories onto tanks, and that's how you do it, right? You're gonna have to allocate a lot of production onto tanks to get these units actually in the field for when you need them when the war starts. So like, that's what that looks like, and that's like the strategy. The stuff that you have researched at the start of the game, you have guns, you have trucks, you have support equipment. You build that, you let your production efficiency build up, you don't touch it. And then when your tanks come online, then you start adding factories onto them. You can cut like a couple off of guns if they're like new factories that you just built and throw them onto tanks. But like the base ones that you start with, like you had 4, like you're never going to want to take those 4 factories off guns. And that's how you wind up with like enough equipment to support your infantry, and you're able to build enough tanks. The other thing too with the 10-0 playstyle is that if you're not attacking with infantry, you're going to be losing a lot less manpower, and you're going to be losing a lot less infantry equipment. And as a result, you don't need as much production on infantry equipment as you would if you're going to go with a battle plan with infantry strategy. And then we have one on SP anti-air. So, like, again, if you look at our production here, we don't have any planes, and that means it's very unlikely that we're going to have air superiority. And if you don't have air superiority, and the AI, sometimes they'll have appreciable amounts of bombers. I find especially the International tends to have like CAS and stuff like that. So CAS doesn't care about your armor, and they don't care about your breakthrough value that you have as tanks. They're just going to shred you, and you don't want that to happen. That's very bad. It'll also slow you down and make it more difficult for you to make encirclements. So if you're not going to have air superiority, you don't think, then you need to do something about that. And your choices are either to go with towed anti-air, either as a support company, or you could like replace one tank with 2 trucks and towed anti-air. And if you're going to put anti-air in your infantry as well, then that might be the way you want to go. It's probably not as good as self-propelled anti-air for your tank units. Like, I mean, of course it's not, but it'll be good enough. It'll be good enough. The AI, of course, isn't going to like go hard into CAS, but they're going to have some, and that can, you don't want to be losing your expensive tanks, especially if you're a poor country. So you're going to want to do that, or you're going to want to go self-propelled anti-air. And with the anti-air variant, like one factory over here, like this is like kind of okay. It does suck to have one factory allocated to anti-air if you're like really poor. And then you're going to wind up with like a proportionally large number of anti-air guns that you're not using. That's kind of like wasted because you only need a few for your tank unit, and they're probably not going to take a whole lot of losses. So like maybe after you've stockpiled enough anti-air that you think you're going to need, you can swap that factory off and like put it on guns or something else that you might need. But you definitely want to have anti-air, some sort of air protection, if you think you're not going to have aerial supremacy. And because this is a variant, if you are going down the heavy tank path, or like even the medium tank path, and you started building some of those tanks, like I didn't build any heavy tank ones in this game, but if you did go for a strategy where you're going to build some heavy tank ones, you can convert those into self-propelled anti-air or self-propelled guns if you want, very cheap. So if you did decide to go for a dispersed industry strategy, if you came down the dispersed industry line, then that's one of those times when it's like, if you have the factories to spare early on, you can save production efficiency retention, and you can build a bunch of heavy ones, convert that line over to heavy 2, and then make a few separate factory lines to do equipment conversion, get yourself some anti-air or self-propelled guns very cheaply. That's a pretty strong strategy if you're going heavy tanks, and also you have enough factories at the start of the game to actually put factories onto heavy tank 1, so you have like a decent number of them, and you can retain that efficiency. So a country like Ukraine, like I said over here, if you're following, we only had a few factories to start, and we stuck those factories on guns so we could actually equip infantry units. We didn't really have any factories to spare to put on Heavy Tank 1, and as a result, it's kind of pointless to go for that dispersed industry strategy. But if you're going for a play where you're going to be able to make those Heavy Tank 1 hauls right from January 1st, 36, or as soon as after you research it, then you can do that with the dispersed industry strat. If you watch my Fortress video or Fortress Germany playlist, we did that, and we got a pretty powerful heavy tank unit out pretty quickly because we were playing with, I think we had nine combat width or 3 battalions of SPGs that we were converting very cheap into heavy tank units and a couple of motorized anti-air. So that strategy is on the table. You could also do that if you're playing as a miner and you're only putting like one factory on guns, and you can put factories, the rest of them that would be on guns, onto heavy tanks instead. You could do that. If you're doing that as a miner, though, basically you're not going to have any infantry, and you're only going to have like all your eggs are in that one tank unit, and you're going to try and use that to like support your AI partners. So I've done that before as Venezuela as like a volunteer tank strategy. You can kind of do that as someone like Chile or like Cuba. You can do that kind of strategy. And that works out. That works out okay. It works out okay as long as you're in a safe position, and you might want to do a volunteer strat rather than like joining the war, just so that you don't get invaded. But otherwise, it's the same. But we went concentrated industry, and concentrated industry, like you're not getting any retention. We're not doing any variant conversion because the strategy you saw that we followed for this. We capped our original starting factories on guns and their basics. And then the new factories we put onto heavy tanks. So those factories, the new factories that we're putting on heavy tank, aren't going to have any retention to convert or hold or retain, when they get put onto heavy tank 2, because we weren't building heavy tank 1. So like having that retention bonus is pointless. And we're also not making that many variants. We're just putting in two units of anti-air. So the conversion efficiency bonus from dispersed is also wasted. So getting going dispersed industry for a setup like this is pretty pointless. But if you go concentrated, you're going to get extra guns, and you're going to get extra trucks, and you're going to get extra support equipment, because those factories are going to be on high production efficiency most of the game. Just before I started making this recording with a few factories built, I went up to 3 on support equipment just to make sure we can maintain our engineers on our infantry unit. But that was at 1 for most of the game, so these 2 factories are new. Most of the factories went onto heavy tank. So I was at 4 here, 1 here, 1 here. Got this up, got 1 to heavy SPAA, and then I shoved another 1 onto guns and like another 2 onto support equipment. That's what we did with our factories. So that's like kind of the production. That's the industry strategy. It does help if you're able to get your industry ahead of time. Like I think I went concentrated 3 pretty early. Like I got this when this was about 300 days out. And that'll help you have more stuff. That's pretty important. It's also important to get fuel refining techs too when you're going with tanks, because tanks will consume a lot of fuel. So you want to make sure that you're not trading for more oil than you have to, and maybe you want to build some fuel silos. I think for this game I threw out like a couple fuel silos. Like if you're not playing with air, you're only fielding a couple tank units. You don't need to have like a huge fuel capacity, but I think I built like 3 or 4 fuel silos anyways, just to make sure you have some reserve of fuel available, and that should be okay. So industrial techs are pretty important. Get your production efficiency up just to make sure those your factory count is able to produce enough guns for you. Other stuff, like you can see, we've ignored most of. I think you start with this. We've ignored pretty much all of our infantry equipment upgrades, except for this is like 1 I picked up later. And you can kind of see, because we're in the Reichspakt, you will get bonuses for this stuff that the AI researches if you don't have it yet. So if you delay, like you focus researching on tanks, you're going to have to commit a lot of research to get those tanks out in the field. But you can get, like, once you're caught up and you've got the stuff that you want, you can come back and get the things that you missed that the AI is going to research anyway, like very cheaply. This is like a free 50% bonus on this tech, just because we're in part of that tech sharing faction, and the AI researches it. So you can see we have bonuses on things like logistics company and stuff too that we get just because we didn't take them and the AI did. We're going to have bonuses to catch up. Also, Ukraine has a bunch of bonuses for doctrine. You don't want to be behind in doctrine, so it's kind of worth it to go and research those. So we have here, we got pretty far down our doctrine tree. We'll be able to pick this up as soon as we have a free research slot. We'll be able to grab another one. The more doctrines you have, the better off you'll be. And if you're playing as a smaller power, having the extra punch in your units for having a doctrine advantage can be pretty nice to have. So in terms of how you actually get the tank unit into the field, so what you want to do when you're farming experience, and experience is important because you have to actually have your 40 with tank division template. Like this is the one you get for free. And to get it to something that looks like this, you're going to have to pay like a decent amount of experience for it. Additionally, you also want to make sure you're rolling out with a variant on your tank. Like you want to make sure your tank, like this one over here has like main gun 3, reliability 3. You want to keep your reliability like around 96 if you can, like especially as a miner. The less losses you take to attrition, the less tanks you're going to have to build, which is important, especially if you don't have a huge economy. If you have a huge economy, then like you have tons of tanks stockpile anyways, and maybe who cares. But attack and reliability you're going to want. That's the Mark III that we're making. Or sorry, that's the Mark II. Yeah, Mark II and Mark III would be if we actually pushed any of those buttons. So you need experience for the variant, you need experience for your template, and you need experience to boost your doctrines, right? So the way you get experience is by sending your volunteers out, and also, like I think in this game we have an attaché to the American Union State. Recall attaché, yes. We have an attaché to the American Union State, so we pay 50 command power, you pay 100 political power, and you're going to get 20% of their military experience. So sending an attaché to one of the Civil War factions, try and avoid the feds because they die early. But you want to send one to the American Union State or the CSA or the PSA, and you can do that if they have 20 opinion of you. If they do not have 20 opinion of you, you can just like improve relations until they do, get the attaché, and stop improving relations. But that is important to get, so you have the army experience. The army experience is very important after you can't do one division training anymore. And then when you send your volunteers out, you want to make sure that you're like always attacking something. You can try and win the war for your, you can try and carry the war for the AI2 if you want to, but primarily you're focusing on getting that experience. And you want to make sure you have a unit that has, if you can get to veteran status, that's great. And while they're volunteers, you want to start spending some of that experience to make them a 40 width template. This will help them bully other units easier in the Civil Wars. Like a 40 width unit will be a lot better than like a 12 width. Like often you'll have enough breakthrough to match their attack if they're like a 12 width unit too. So you can like pretty freely attack into them and not take a lot of damage. And that'll help you farm experience more. And then when you get your first tank unit out in the field, like you don't train this template. What you do is you take your volunteers that you sent out and you expand it to 40 width and you convert them. And that's going to get your unit in the field very fast for when the war starts. And additionally, you'll retain a bunch of that experience that they had from fighting as volunteers. So like you can see, we're pretty close to even season status. This was a veteran 40 width when we swapped it over. So that's how you want to do it. And then you want your tanks to remain in stockpile so that you can have the tanks available to reinforce units if they need them. And you don't want them locked in a training queue that's not in combat and putting you in the red in your logistics. So what you would do is you train a unit of this, like the 40 width over here, and then once this is done, you can deploy it. You can swap it over to a tank division, and even if it's green after that, it's not a huge deal. Tanks don't take a whole lot of casualties. They do a ton of damage, and they'll get themselves up to regular status like pretty fast. You don't really have to worry about that. You could train them if you wanted to, but that's not really necessary, I found in my experience. So that's how you get the units in the field. That's how you set up your production, and that's how you get the actual stuff. So early 1940, we've got the one tank division. We're working on our second, and we have like a bunch of these 10 widths to hold the line. So when you're playing this style as opposed to like a 7-2, a 10-0 is like pretty much complete trash actually attacking. Like you pretty much never want to do it. A 7-2 is going to be better at attacking than a 10-0. A 10-0 will defend alright. Like they'll defend like pretty much just as good as a 7-2. They won't do as much damage, but they have they'll do enough damage to like fend off an equal number of attacking infantry units. Like a 10-0 can hold back a 7-2, which Russia has, of course, because they're Russia. But their push potential is even worse than the 7-2 is. So what you're going to do is you're going to park your guys in the front line over here. And you may or may not want to heat them on order, like depending on how intense you have to micro, you might want to just have them on no order. But you put them on the front line, and then you make encirclements with your tanks, and these guys just wrap around, and they delay the enemy from pushing in on you. That's all they do. And as a result of that, you want to make sure you assign your army properly, right? So, like if you notice over here, we have our infantry divisions are stuck on one army, and our tanks are stuck on another army. So like these guys I picked for good attacking traits, and these guys you kind of pick them. You look for the good defensive traits. Like I don't think we had anyone in particular, but you'd be looking for defensive traits. Like this guy over here, you probably want this guy to get defensive doctrine, your field marshal. And these guys, like your camo expert is good if you're up against air. It's not a bad one to have. And something like guerrilla fighter for the expert transfer speed is not awful. And ambusher, infantry expert, infantry traits, stuff like that. But you want them in separate armies. So attackers in one army with your tank, making breakthroughs and encirclements, and your defenders in the other army. That way, your field marshal, like this guy over here, has siege artillery. So we can use this. This only costs us 2.3 command power to do that, to activate that. And like these things over here, like if you want to force attack, or I think this guy's adaptable. But if you had something like improv expert bridges, or you want to do a staff office plan, these are going to be very cheap because only your tank units, like you're only paying for your tank units for that, right? Whereas if you stuck them and like buried this in another army, like first of all, that general is never going to learn Panzer Leader because he's got too much infantry. Whereas someone like this, you set your army up, he's only commanding tanks, will start learning Panzer Leader. He has infantry leader a bit because we were playing with infantry volunteers in Spain. If you stick your tanks in with your infantry, that's like extremely stupid. And now if you want to start actually using staff office plan, or your to get over a bridge, or like if you needed to use force attack. Force attacking with tanks can be like, sometimes it's okay if you're attacking into trash units, you just need to break them. But you don't want to be taking extra damage on your tank units. Like that's a little bit dicey. You also can't retreat when you do that. But if you want to be using siege artillery, you want to be using bridges, you want to be using staff office plan, pretty much those are only useful for your attacking units. So having to pay for look at the difference in cost. 21 command powered staff office plan for this guy because of how many divisions he has, versus 2.76. So you will like deplete your command power so fast if you're a dumbass and you stick your tanks in your infantry. But I see people do it. I see people do it. And this also makes it like a lot harder to control. So like if you want your spearhead to go through, like generally you don't want to be pushing across the whole line, but like maybe we want to start pushing in through this tile, and this might be a tough tile, so we decide we want the planning bonus. You can just do something like this, and have your tank push in through that one tile, use staff office plan to get the planning speed real fast, and that's not going to screw up the rest of your front line because only the units that are on that order are in this army. Whereas trying to micro orders in the same army is going to be like it's a lot more tedious to do. I mean, you could do it, but it's a lot more tedious to do, and you have those command power penalties. Like, and additionally, guys that have high attack and have these improv expert and siege artillery and like abilities like that, they're going to be helpful for your tanks, aren't necessarily the ones you're going to be using on your infantry anyways. Like, they're kind of a waste for that. So the generals you want to have and the abilities you're looking for are different for if you have a tank guy versus if you have an infantry guy that's only defending. So like this guy here, 3 defense, is great for infantry. Same thing, he gets some more defense. And this guy could be either or. He's got adaptable, which is nice. This guy we mainly picked him because he's got the thorough planner for the extra planning, and he's got Fortress Buster. So like that's kind of how you want to set up your army, right? You have your attacking units and your tanks under the general. That's good for that, and you have your infantry that are going to be on the defense under general. It's going to have good things for that. You don't want to combine everything into one army senselessly. That's pretty potato. Don't do it. So with that, so we're going to go over here. We're just going to start making some plays against Russia. We are at war with Russia. I think Japan wants us to also be at war with like Japan and friends. So whatever. Not a big deal. We'll bring our tank over here, and we'll start trying to make some encirclements. So go ahead and we'll start the timer over here. And we are fortunate enough, like Ukraine starts with a guy you can have adaptable. You don't have enough units to send 2 units of volunteers out, so like makes it like pretty tough to get like army experience at the start of the you know what? And we also are in fact at war with Poland. So where is our tank over here? Let's have you come over here. We'll just try and help out against the Poles for now. We'll probably want to kill Poland pretty quickly. And Poland should be like, it should be pretty easy to like knock out Poland with a heavy tank unit. As long as the AI sends at least like a minimal amount of help, and it looks like we are strong enough in the front line even with just our trash units to hold off the Russians. Alright, so we're going to have our guy over here. We want to start looking for some encirclements. Like if they're not going to guard over here, we can come around this way. They want to put an infantry division in their way. Like this is going to be over a river, so like that might be a little bit tough. And we're also in low work from strategic redeployment, but yeah. So we're going to let him walk out of this tile. We'll take this across the river, and yeah. Just going over here. And this guy's low work, so we can push him out. And then we'll kill these 2 divisions. And like once you're in open ground, like you're gonna have like the stats. Like even though we're at such low work, we're still gonna like crush us infantry unit. Alright, there. So we got that. And then we'll probably just want to get Lodz in Warsaw and try and capitulate Poland so we can get back to Russia. So we're going to come over here. You can see this tile is open, and we don't want to push across the river because we don't have bridges. Come over here. We'll help the AI cross. Again, like even without the planning, we're even getting attacks over his defense there. We're going to get the extra armor bonus. Damage. We shouldn't really have an issue pushing this guy out. He's gone. Then we'll hit him while he's still reorging over there, and then we'll go Lodz, we'll go Warsaw. You can see we're still able to like knock this guy out, and like our org is like basically nothing, and we're still able to push him. We did get pushed back there. That's fine. Like I said, we had basically no organization there anyways. A couple militia units. And militia units like pretty garbage. I can have that. And then Warsaw, like an urban tile is like pretty tough to break, so we'll use staff office plan there. And see what we can get. We are also on a bit lower, so you have to recover that for a little bit and like watch over here. Like we're holding in most places. It looks like we do have a few red bubbles, but like I said, it's kind of fine if they push us back a little bit. It's not a big deal because we'll be able to counterattack. And so we already have like 171 tanks in stockpile again. So we're like not quite halfway to our next tank unit, but we're getting close. Take this tile over here. There's only one militia on it. Belgium capitulated. So let this guy walk out. This guy's gonna burn out his org. Then we'll try and take Warsaw. And I think we might have to take like maybe a couple of these other down here to capitulate Poland, but that's what we're going to go for, and that'll free up some troops to go elsewhere. What's Poland at right now? So they're pretty close. They're pretty close. You're just gonna have to get like a little bit more. And hopefully the AI will like put a unit over here. Like, yeah, there's a motorized unit coming. We'll try and push this guy out and go to Radom. And it's like a little bit unfortunate that we kind of got caught out here without our supporting infantry. Well, so you gotta be careful here too, just in case the AI decides to try and cut us off. Should be pretty bad. Walk into Kiel's here. Like when you're doing this, you gotta be careful and like actually pay attention to where these guys are. Of course, getting encircled with your tank unit is very bad. And sometimes you'll want to manually retreat to make sure that you don't get encircled and die. We need one more victory point. That's because they took back Lodz. It's like if we would have had our supporting infantry over here, we probably could have won this already, but unfortunately our guys are on the line over there. And not over here, but we will go ahead and pick up some army staff. And national focus. Like, I don't know if we actually need any of this stuff. That's probably fine. Let's grab this. All right. So what we'll do is we'll come over this way, and we will attempt to circle some of these divisions over here. Let's get some production efficiency. Grab this guy out. That's just a militia sitting in Lodz now. We'll just go ahead and kill those guys. Got some planning bonus. We'll push down over here. Where are they at? They are quite close. So hopefully that'll do that, because we are getting pushed back a bit here, so we are gonna have to go in. Like, of course, if you know you're gonna get pushed back in your front line, you want to build your factories. Like I put my factories down over here behind Kiev, like when I was building them. So like I was planning on being pushed back a little bit because your infantry will be weaker when you do a strategy like this. So if you're gonna build new industry, you want to put it somewhere like behind this river line here that we could be pushed back to and hold. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Shanties, we'll take this, and we'll push up this way and try and take Radom, and hopefully that'll be enough to finish off the Poles. And like, you gotta watch, see this guy, there you go. So we got him. We got him, we got the VPs, we killed Poland, so we gotta come over here and help the rest of our boys. At 270 now, so we're more than halfway to our next tank division. Now we don't need those traits. And we have a bunch of command power now. This guy I don't think has we do, so we'll get him defensive doctrine. And what's our air situation look like over here? Yeah, so they are strategic bombing us. And right now we're repairing that infrastructure. Like, I don't know if we really need to do that. It's probably helping the Russians even. Let's keep on building military factories. That was a mistake. I wasn't paying attention to my industry. We were repairing. We probably shouldn't have been. And our next power, we'll go and we'll get to grab ourselves another chief of army. I don't want to put anyone in that tile. So like when you get a spot like this, you want to look for like where are opportunities to like get kills. And like the tiles that you want to look for are spots where like they're kind of pushed out over here, and like that are going to be in good terrain. So like you're looking for things like plains, hills tiles aren't too bad. Things like forests or across rivers and mountains are like probably you don't want to make your play there. It's going to be a little more difficult, depending on what unit the enemy has. How much of them. So, see, like over here, like you push in one tile over this way, then push in one tile over this way, and circle some units over here, maybe. So let's try for that. Just order that guy to fall back. We'll get ourselves some planning bonus. Research. Construction, sure. Alright, so there's only one unit on this tile now, we'll just go push him out. This guy follow us in. That militia's not going to stop us. If they want to attack us, we'll just, that's fine. You know, sometimes they will try that shit. So I think at this point, like maybe we don't need this front line. So we will delete that order, and these guys here can fall back into these trees. We don't need to be stuck out like this. It's fine. There's nothing in this province anyways, so like it's fine if we give it up. So we'll put ourselves over here and they can make ourselves a little bit more of a strong point to defend on. Yeah, same thing over here. We might be getting pushed back a bit, so we'll just move our line back over to here. Have one guy move over this way. Like something like that, like, you know, I'll throw out force attack. Like, I mean, they're not gonna do any damage to us anyways. Move this over here. And go grab that. Let's move that over here, and we'll have this guy come up over this way. And the AI has some troops around here to hold the line anyways, so like we can do that, that's fine. So we got this tile, and then we'll kill these two guys. And then like over here, like, so like there might be something we can do over here. Looks like we only need to take a few tiles to like, cut that guy off. Also, like if you look for low org units, you can kind of push them. And over here, this urban tile and a plains tile we could work with. This guy's gonna fall back anyways, so like that's okay. It's also like we could also do too is let the AI walk in, like give them space, and like let them walk into tiles so it can be easy for you to push into. Of course, like if the Germans are going to man the line, we're going to have less control over where our army is than we'd like to. We're also a bit low orgs, we're going to have to regain. So let's, where do we want to make our next play at? So we could take this tile and this tile, and now we cut this guy off. We have no organization anyway, so like, let's strategically redeploy over to here. And like once this guy falls back, we'll yeah, okay, he's moving, he's moving. Alright, so where did I say that opportunity was? I missed it. Yeah, over here and then into there. Okay, so we'll do it like that. Come over to here, push out this militia unit, and then we'll knock out that that guy over there. And you know what? Might even be better too if he's going to do this. We'll have this guy walk in over here. Then we'll wrap around like this. So we got that. Let's go for next infantry equipment upgrade over here. What's our gun situation like? 11k. It would we probably don't want to switch over, and in fact we can probably even afford to spam a few more of these units out, so that's fine. We're gonna have that, and then we can kill these two guys. Alright, so we got that. Let's go for, let's move back over to here. Send this guy over here. We'll have this infantry walk over there. We'll go for another section like that. And how are we on our tank units? 368. It's like we're almost into unit number 2, and then your life gets like a lot easier. Over here. Let's kill these two guys. Alright, so like if you look at the CAS, you roll like how many Russians did we get? We're in the lead for kills on Russia. We got 179,000 kills. We are gonna lose infantry because we are getting pushed into with 7.2s. They're gonna have planning your infantry line this week, but that's not really a problem for us. But we are ahead in kills, and that'll only keep increasing once we get more tanks out. And like, so it's not important to actually like hold this land that we're taking. We're just looking for kills on these divisions. Go like that, and we'll kill like another slot of guys. Then you come over here, and we can like kind of do the same thing, right? Move this over here. We might want to regain a little bit of organization. Probably let's actually just have these guys. We'll reset the front line, have our guys move back into position. No, actually, I fucked that up because this is gonna do the whole southern border. We just care about this section. And let's just get a few more guys out there that we can. I'll pull the line a little bit. In tanks, like, we're pretty much at the point. So we have this template that we're training here. Deploy that, and then we'll clear this, and then this unit over here. You guys can be tanks now. So we're a few tanks short, but we'll make that up pretty fast. And we'll let them get their equipment up. So we'll try and maybe, that's actually probably not the best spot. Not the best opportunity we can get right now. Or, yeah, no, it's probably not the best opportunity we can get right now. So we're going to pause over here and look, see if there's, see if we can get something else better elsewhere. Like, if they've stacked a lot of divisions onto one tile, that's like usually not too bad. Like down here, this is great. This is great. We'll get some kills down here. I'll have this guy come meet up with us. So another place that's like great for encirclements is around impassables. So we got this, and we'll go and get ourselves the. We're getting pushed back a little bit. Let's go for supply consumption, defense might be helpful. What does this? I think there should be a static defense one too. We might not have that one though. Let's just go for division attack, max speed, breakthrough. Let's go for decisive battle and get ourselves an extra 10% attack. And then for this over here, we can just go on construction and repair maybe. Yeah, let's go construction repair. Like the rest of this tree is like not really all that exciting, so that's fine. And maybe calm down on the infantry production. We're not making that many guns. So let's attack over here, and then we'll try and kill these two guys. We got that, and like maybe something over here would go for this plains. We don't want that unit fighting with its under strength. It hasn't got its equipment yet. Yeah, let's go. Let's try for something up here. Have these guys stay where they are for now. Alright, so next unit, they got their equipment. And we are green in tanks again. We have 2 fully equipped units. And now our life gets a lot easier. You can get away with a lot more when you have 2 units. Let's push over here. And have a couple of these guys get ready to... well, no, stop. Follow us in. Move over this way, you can pin. Stop them from moving. And we'll move in, come down this way. You even got an overrun there. Oh. Some planning buff. Wait for our organization a little bit. You don't need to necessarily go with max planning, but okay, now there's only one unit on this tile, so we can push that easily. You have that guy pinned there. Deal with this tank. Got that. And then this guy will be easy to push out here. We'll have this guy supporting attack. So supporting attack, you control click the bubble, and that will mean you'll help with the attack, but they won't move on to the tile afterwards. So we've got this. So we'll have that guy attack in. We'll supporting attack again here. You see the little sword icon there, so he won't move. We'll kill these guys. Doing. They're alright. We'll attack in like that. So there you go. Killed some more divisions. And there's another opportunity over here. Reset our infantry. Like, what's the score now? So we've killed almost 500,000 Russians already. It's like we're doing quite good in the KDR. And we're like 25% of the way to another unit of tanks as well. Alright, so this guy's gonna run himself out of organization. It's like we want to counterattack him right away. Seem like this unit we can buy ourselves like a bit more space if we want to push these guys out. They have no org left, they can't resist. We'll push in like so. We'll have another one of these guys come in to help us out. We'll delete the orders off that guy. We'll just push them back a little bit. We'll come and we'll go for here. We'll try and push into this tile over here, and we'll make sure we keep our infantry following in behind us. Let's attack. He's got no org left anyways, we got that. Move over to here. And then we'll make these, kill those guys off. There you go, kill another 5 divisions. And so Germany is getting slowly pushed back over here. It's like if we were gonna play this game out, and I just want to make this video to like kind of go over like the basics of the play style. But if we were gonna play this game out, probably want to cripple Russia and then like send our guys over to here and start pushing back the Commune of France. And like it is probably faster to try and capitulate Commune France than it would be to capitulate Russia. Like to actually kill Russia, you have to get like really far into there, like past the Urals to do it. So you probably want to kill enough of Russia's guys so you're able to hold the line, and then go and deal with the commies. So we've lost 158k, and against the Russians we've killed 622.7k. So like that's pretty alright KDR. We are a little bit behind on the infantry equipment production. Like at this point you might want to start throwing some extra factories on guns, which is what we're doing. We got our 2 tank units out in the field, and we're 440, so we're getting close to our like 20% of the way there for our next tank unit. Like you will start building them a lot faster once you have the production efficiency. And it looks like we might have lost a factory somewhere, so we probably want to cut some over to here and get that extra factory onto to keep our SP anti-air going. Yeah, keep our SP anti-air going. We're not in such a spot where we have so much in stockpile we ditch them. You can see like the Gree unit's already trained. This guy's seasoned, he's almost veteran. You don't take a lot of casualties for these units. And it doesn't really, like you see, it doesn't matter if you get pushed back because you're just going to attack into them and kill their divisions anyways. It's only bad if they start taking away tiles that have lots of industry or manpower that you might need. And like our fuel, like we have an extra year use of fuel. We can trade for more if we want it. So that's like kind of the play style and how you would go about playing like a tank build. It's a lot more interactive. You have to micro. You're looking for encirclements. You're not just drawing battle plans and pushing arrows on the keyboard like a monkey. So if you're wondering like how to do that, you're interested in trying out that playstyle as opposed to just spamming 7-2s and trying to battle plan, you can try it out. The advantage of doing this is like I find it's a lot more engaging to play this playstyle and it's a lot more powerful. Against someone like Russia that's like an industrial giant that's going to have a lot more divisions and probably better divisions than we'd be able to make as Ukraine, we're still going to be able to make progress. We'll kill enough of their stuff eventually, and we'll build enough of our stuff eventually that we'll be able to tip the tide in their favor. Versus if you tried to just spam infantry against a guy that has more manpower and industry than you, and it's a battle of attrition, like that's going to be a pretty tough fight. I did notice over here that they're pushing in through Crimea. I think when I was fucking around with these orders, I forgot that I had placed a garrison of 3 people over here. So this would be pretty bad if we didn't have tanks, but because we do have tanks, we can just wait for these guys to cross straight and we'll kill them and take our land back. You have that freedom when you have push potential and you can just kind of go and like knock people back at will like you can with like these 40 heavy tank units. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope if you are thinking about playing with tanks, this gives you like a bit of a heads up on how you might want to do that. You can watch some of my other playstyles. Like I will usually build tanks in most of my playthroughs, even as stuff like Warlord China and stuff like that. So if you're interested in like seeing a campaign to completion, you can watch one of my other campaigns. But this is more of a quick quote-unquote 1-hour video of like how you set yourself up, things you want to look for, and like how you play 10-0 in the field. So that's that. I hope you liked it. Levy Freeman signing out.